Oh, it's time. It's time. We've got to do the Lost Canyon guide. We got to update this thing. Lost Canyon, Sunset Canyon, we've got to do it. We've got all these new commanders with Sun Tzu, with Gang Gang, and all these different commanders. How do we play? How do we do this? I am a Canyon junkie, and I love the event of Canyon because it is the only event in Rise of Kingdoms that you can play every single day. I love that. And so from that standpoint, I'm going to show you how to get the best out of your account when it comes to Canyon. I just won the Canyon tournament we had when we were hooked up with 875 and a couple other kingdoms, and I was cooking. And so whether it's Sunset Canyon or Lost Canyon, we're going to get you ready to do the best you can do in Canyon. Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chadsky, and I do videos all the time. I am a sponsored content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, and if you enjoy these videos, you can throw a thumbs up on here, give them a like, really helps out the videos, helps out the channel a ton, and you know what else helps out the channel? Subscribers, definitely. And if you want to subscribe, hit that button. You can also hit the bell if you want to get alerts when I do content like this. And this is Lost Canyon. This is Sunset Canyon. There's two different types of canyons. Okay, Sunset Canyon is in Home Kingdom. It goes on all the time. It's also in KVK. It's just every day. Every day you play it. We also have the Sunset Canyon tournaments that make it more fun now to get better rewards. You go up against different kingdoms. It's great. And in Lost Canyon, it's a 6 March lineup that you do for Canyon coins to get currency to buy the things in the shop that you want to buy. And so we're going to talk all about that because we got all these new commanders, okay? And I know a thing or two about Canyon. I am embarrassed to say this, but I am a Canyon junkie. I love playing it. I love giving players advice on it. And if you want to get that advice, you can always go down to my Discord. The link is down in the description. And when you go to my Discord, I get questions about Canyon every day. Every single day, somebody's got a Canyon question for their account, okay? Now, you got to understand what the goal of Canyon is. It's not to be the best, because it's really hard. It is really, really hard. You got big-time players, big-time Krakens and whales and kingdoms and in your KVK that make it really, really difficult to compete at a super high level. However, you can be the best you can be and always try to improve. And I think that that's what makes it a lot of fun. And so let's get into this and let's talk about it. First of all, when you're in Canyon, let's just talk about a few things. You have a 5 March lineup, okay? And this is just regular Sunset Canyon. Now in Lost Canyon, it's a 6 March lineup, all right? But now that we have Sun Tzu in the game, we can talk about him and why his pairings are really, really good. There's all kinds of different ways you can set this thing up and do it. And so with that, we're going to go through it and do it. You've got to have a tank march, whether or not you're going to run Trajan with Shajar or Trajan with Constantine or Trajan Mulan and move Constantine somewhere else. We can go through all of that. But this is what I'm currently running. And this is the best results I think I can get out of this. I opt to go with a Chen Shajar. I try to make that is the tankiest march in Canyon. It's the tankiest march in the game. Massive healing with tons of tankiness from Chen and tons of tankiness from Shajar. And I use it as a buffer. Plus, it just dishes out a lot of damage. And I hide my Sun Tzu behind it. I run Sun Tzu with BQ. The reason why, and I'm not necessarily saying Sun Tzu BQ is like the greatest, everybody needs to run it everywhere all the time. I'm saying it from the standpoint of BQ has the malice stacks, and he is best with Sun Tzu when you're constantly hitting. Well, Canyon, that's all you do. You just constantly hit, okay? And 5 target AoE from BQ, it's a match made in heaven, one of the strongest marches in Canyon. And we've also got Gang Gang, okay? Gang Gang, phenomenal back row fighter. You put him with Achilles, he does massive healing, great sustain, and that works out really well. The name of the game in Canyon is sustain and damage. Those are the 2 things that you want, okay? Buffing's fine, but it's not as imperative as you might think. You just want to last as long as you can, and you want to do as much damage as you can. And then you can do this a bunch of different ways, but my off lane, I run high damage March Killer. That's what I like to run, okay? Now, because most everybody has gone to like a 2 Delta setup, very, very few players now have a wedge setup for cavalry, but since I have 2 Deltas, I run Arthur with Hector. And the reason why is because Hector just does a ton of single target damage. And with Arthur doing single target damage and how that march works out, it actually performs at a Huo Arthur or a Huo Nevsky March Killer level. Okay, because Huo Nevsky and Huo Arthur are like, that is like the best March Killer, and to do just a ton of damage to a single target, okay? Well, if you don't have wedge, like I've converted my wedge stuff, I don't run that anymore, so I use Arthur with Hector, but there's all kinds of different ways that you can run that. But if you don't have Gang, you can move Arthur behind or Arthur in front of Achilles and go run a high damage march that way, and then you can go run Luce, you can go do a whole bunch of other things. Okay, so I've got a tier list, but it's not really a tier list, it's a march list, okay? Because I'm not really saying one march is better than the other, but we can go into it and we can find it out, because we're going to do it for 5 marches, and then we're going to do it for 6 marches for Lost Canyon, okay? So for the 5 marches, pretty simple. I'm going to put it up here. Here's what we've got. And I'm going to show you what I run, okay? But I'm going to give you all kinds of different examples. I take Trajan and Constantine, and that's what I run for my tank, right? Constantine does massive healing, Trajan's super tanky, and they both do a bunch of buffing, okay? The next march I run, and I run it behind for my defense, Gang with Achilles. If you want to talk about a march built for Canyon, that's the one. Tons of damage, tons of sustain with the Gang healing. It is really good, okay? Another phenomenal march for DPS, Sun Tzu and BQ, just off the charts. Okay, and then I run, as I showed you, a Chen with Shajar. All right, one of the things Shajar is good at is Canyon. All right, with the other deficiencies she's got in the field, not doing enough damage and all that stuff, you can at least run her in Canyon because she is meta, absolute meta in Canyon as a tanky, high healing, sustain type of commanders. And then in my offlane, obviously I showed you Arthur with Hector. Now from here, we have other ways that we could do this, and if you're in a situation where you don't have Hector, okay, you can literally run, and you don't have Hector, and let's say you still got Wedge, you can run a Huo Arthur. That's great for offlane. Okay, it's also great to put behind one of the tank marches because it is just a march killer. It will destroy whatever it targets. Now it's not super tanky, and if it finally gets focused, it's going to get wrecked pretty quick. But you want to do as much damage as possible if it gets wrecked. Okay, so that's kind of your lineup that I would prefer if you don't have Hector. Okay, let's say you don't have Gang. All right, I would run it just like this, and I'd put Nevsky right behind Huo Nevsky, still a great single target nuker and a march killer. That's how I would run that. In fact, before Gang came into the game, that's how I ran it. I still ran Wedge, and that's how I did it. Now, if you have 2 infantry to go along with the leadership set here, and you only run 1 combo march, you could easily run it a couple of different ways. But this is the way that I like to run it. I like to do this. I'll put Luce here, then I'll split up my Trajan and I'll bring in Mulan, okay? So this is another good way to set up if you want to run 2 infantry with a leadership and a cav and 1 archer. That's how I like to do it, okay? And so from there, you want to keep BQ behind Sun Tzu. All right. And let me kind of help you guys understand that, just so you understand kind of the logistics when it comes to BQ and Sun Tzu. Okay. Because we've talked about Sun Tzu many times. He's going to do AoE true damage whenever the target takes smite damage. Well, the beauty with BQ that he fits so good with Sun Tzu is that he does malice stacks. And when you're in a constant fight and you're losing troops, you're constantly putting down red numbers of malice stacks, so the rage just goes off the charts. It just goes off the charts. It's like the best combo or the best pairing with Sun Tzu that you can run by putting BQ behind him, okay? And so that's kind of how I like to run it. I think that's the best way you can do it, and that's how I've got it set up here. Now, if you're in a situation where you're like, Chatsky, bro, I don't have Shajar. That's easy, guys. You can still use the same concept and put Zuge behind Chin. Still going to be a tanky march, but does a lot more damage now, okay? It's definitely more of a damage-dealing march, and so that's an easy one as well. Or a lot of people will say, I've got leadership stuff on my Trajan, and I like to put Shajar behind Trajan. This is an uber tanky march. Uber tanky. Okay, and so from there, it doesn't get any more tanky than Trajan Shajar or Chin Shajar, okay, if that's how you want to run it. But that is another way to run it, and there's a bunch of different ways, but I'm giving you guys for the different examples of what you have and what you don't have, this is the best way to do it, okay? If you want to go more DPS, right, and you don't have Constantine, you could easily run an off lane that looks like that. Okay, you could run Luce with Wallace, and the only time I would say maybe you split up Sun Tzu and BQ is to put, in this situation where you run more DPS and you have an off lane and you run BQ and Wallace in the off lane. I've seen that done many, many times. Okay, and if you're in a situation to where you don't have Sun Tzu and you run 2 Archer marches, you run BQ Luce, you run your Chin Zuge, and then I advise people to run Herman with Shajar. If you don't have Shajar, you run Zuge with Herman. A lot of people like running Herman primary sometimes because Herman's got the support tree. It's more tanky. But you run Zuge, Herman, and then there you go. You bring in our boy YSG, you do max damage with Chin, and you can run it like that. If you do have Shajar and you run 2 Archer marches, then it's pretty simple. It's this right here. I've seen it done many, many times. A Herman with Shajar secondary is a very, very good tank march that you can run. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of how to do this, whether you're running 2 cavalry, 2 infantry, 2 archers with Trajan. Okay, let's say you don't have Trajan. All right, so let's take this down. You don't have Trajan. All right, let's pull this down. And let's say you're running Sun Tzu with BQ and you're running Luce with Constantine, okay? You're going to put that up there as your tank march, all right? And then from there, you can go a couple different directions. The easiest one is to use calves, whether it's your wedge calves, whether it is your, let's see here, we'll put Gang back up here, whether it is your wedge calves or your, combo calves, however you want to do it. All right, that's an easy way to do it if you're going to go 2 infantry, 1 as a tank, and then 2 cavalry. That's the best way to do it. Okay, if you're going to run the 2 infantry with 1 being a tank and you want to run 2 archers, it's that same concept, right? You're going to go Herman with Zuge or Zuge Herman, and then YSG with Chin, and then you can go run it like that, no problem. All right, don't have Gang. You can put Arthur in there as well. There's a couple of different ways you can do that, just depending on what you have. Okay, and I'll have a nice, neat, broken down sheet for everybody to be able to pick up on my Discord that kind of goes through all this with the different schematics, if you will. What commanders you have and what commanders you don't have. Okay, so that gives us a good idea of how we're going to run that all together. So from here, now we want to talk about 6 marches, right? Let's go add one. We're going to add a row below. Okay, where's that at? Add a row below, and we're going to turn that row into what? Blue. We'll turn it into blue. We'll name this number 6. Okay, the most effective way to do this, in my opinion, most effective way to do this is to run this with Trajan and Constantine. Okay, run the Shajar. This is unlimited. This means you've got absolutely everything, and you can pick anything that you want. I'm going to run Arthur with Herman. Okay, and then probably how I would want to run this if I had absolutely unlimited everything, I'd probably want to run it like this. Probably want to pull him down here, pull her up here, and run it just like that. Kind of got my buffing march here, tank march here, tank march here, damage and tank here, damage march here, damage march here. That's probably how I would want to do that, okay? That's unlimited. If I don't do it like that and I want to pull Mulan down, I can always run this like this, put Luce behind our boy Sun Tzu, and then run BQ with Wallace. And I can run it that way. All right, so multiple ways to run that, but that's basically a leadership with 2 cavs, 2 infantries, 1 archers. Okay, and it's the same thing with the archers. All right, if you've got Sun Tzu with BQ and you don't have Wallace or something like that, but you got 2 archers, you can easily go do it like that. And then put YSG in here if you don't have Shajar. And if you do have Shajar with 2 archers, you go put YSG there and put Shajar behind Herman and get Zuge out of there. So there's multiple different ways to do that. But things aren't going to change here, guys. This is kind of how you want to run it. The only other thing I would say, just like I had mentioned with Huo and Nevsky before in the Sunset Canyon lineup, that if you still have Wedge for infantry, you can still run the Guan CPO. It's still okay. It's not amazing anymore, but Guan still does the silence. And if you can do the same thing like you were doing with the other infantry marches, you can put Constantine behind Guan. That's still a really, really good tanky march. And it's what makes it more tanky is the fact that Guan silences. And that's one of the things that you want to do because you can actually last longer because of that. And with that, you maybe put Mulan behind Trajan, or you run Shajar behind Trajan, and then you put Zuge behind Qin. All kinds of different ways to run that, just depending on what you have, and that's how you can do it, okay? The other thing about this, and now those of you who run Philip, just hold on. We're going to talk about that, okay? We're going to talk about Philip because a lot of people have opted to take Trajan out, and when they do, they put Philip in. Philip Shajar is the trend. It's like the new hotness right now. So whether you're in Sunset Canyon or Lost Canyon, you can run the Philip Shajar tank march that does a lot of buffing, okay? And it does a whole lot of buffing. And from there, you can go put Zuge behind Qin, and then you can go run however you're going to go run the rest of your marches. That's how you can do it, okay? And so with that being said, there are hundreds, and I mean hundreds of ways you can go run this, okay? And you can always get in my Discord and ask, like, how should I run this? Here are my marches. What should I do? And a lot depends on your gear. A lot depends on your armaments. A lot of your troop cap depends on what your tier list is or your tier levels are on your gear with your awakening. And so there's all kinds of ways to do this. But what I always like to tell people, okay, is that when it comes to Canyon, all right, it's not always about like doing the best of everybody. It's just doing the best you can do. Okay, we can come and do this a couple of different ways. Let me go find a couple of players to hit. I'll go hit Peace Lubu, really, really strong account in Canyon. Now, I have found out that when I do this and I have the lineup I can just go head up. And I keep Sun Tzu out of trouble. I wrap him down. He stays out of trouble. He's going to do a ton of damage. And then I hope I do enough damage on the BQ Philip to where my Arthur doesn't get completely melted and keeps the BQ Philip over here. And I just let my 4 marches go against the 4 marches over here of the enemy, and I go cook. Let's see how it works out. We'll watch this kind of in real time. And my goal here is to keep my gang who's behind my Qin, to keep him healthy enough. But he's going to do AoE damage, and that's what I really, really like. I want him doing the Palian Spear all the way around. But if you watch here, my Sun Tzu will stay the healthiest out of all of my marches. Okay? And when he does that, he's continuously laying down massive damage. You guys just see the red numbers going everywhere. That's partly because of Qin. It's partly because of Sun Tzu. I got the Malice stacks going on BQ. You've got AoE coming from Gang. And as you can see, I'm slamming down his Trajan, got it killed. Now I'm on his Gang. I'm going to get that killed. I've almost got his Qin killed. It's gone. Now I'm focusing on his Sun Tzu, and lo and behold, because I was telling you about Arthur, okay? Arthur with Hector, great March killer. Great. Okay, let's go see that again. We'll just watch that side of it because we're focusing on the top. But watch what Arthur and Hector do? Number one, you're going to see a lot of red numbers right off the rip, right? That's Arthur's combo. And I only got a couple of them there, so nothing crazy. All right, but sometimes it gets nuts. Now, here's Arthur hitting boom, big combo, boom, Hector, big combo. Okay, that's 25,000 damage factor that fired up. Okay, and you're starting to see red numbers everywhere. There's another 11,000 with another 8,000. I mean, every skill cycle, you are just laying down the damage. Big time laying down the damage. Okay, and you can see that the Arthur is doing really well. Okay, there's other ways that you can do this. And here's another tip for players that when you are attacking somebody, and let's say I'll hit Passos here. He's got a really strong account and a strong Canyon lineup. And let's say you're attacking somebody that's got a lot more power than you do. They got a lot more troops than you do. They just pound for pound have a better Canyon lineup. You can always use an RNG method and go 4v1. Here's an easy way to do that, okay? I'm going to take my Arthur and Hector, okay? I'm going to sacrifice that. All right, I'm gonna pull my Trajan down here. I want that Trajan tanking this BQ, and you can see that's Constantine right there. All right, you get used to running Canyon so long, you know what commanders look like. That's Constantine behind BQ. Okay, so I can be at an advantage here, and I'll explain that in a sec. All right, I always love putting in a 4v1. I love putting my Chin with Shajar behind Trajan. Okay, if you've got Constantine, you got a Trajan Mulan here, and then you got Constantine behind BQ, you always put your second tank march behind your first one in a 4v1 setup. I put Sun Tzu here, and then I always have Gang Gang the last to hit. Number one, he's got calves, they're super fast, so he gets there with good timing. Number two, you keep Gang Gang as healthy as possible, because if he's not being targeted, he just stays full health. And he's so hard to kill at the end because he's full health and he's healing. Okay, then I run Arthur up here. Now, what I have to do is, because this is a march killer, all right, it's not a tanky march. This over here is a super tanky march. So if you ever go 4v1 and a Constantine is in the off lane, all right, you want to slow this march down. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's put a siege in here. We're going to slow it down, because what I want to happen, I want the timing to work out to where his 4 marches kill my Arthur. I do as much damage as I can to Sun Tzu, and he starts to hit my marches when I'm still killing his BQ, so I can rage hop. Let's see if it works, okay? This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it in real time. I've got it recorded for you guys so we can go about this. If you face somebody stronger than you, this is how you have to do it, okay? I've got all 4 of my marches hitting his BQ. All right, he's going to fire off before I do because I'm firing up his rage, but I'm doing the same thing up here with him. Okay, now he's got the heal from Constantine, so his BQ should last longer than my Arthur. But look at my Arthur, it's cooking. Now he's coming down to me, and I missed that timing just barely. Okay, but I'm probably strong enough to win this. But the idea there is you want that timing working out to where you are getting his marches on yours while you're just now finishing up, so you can turn all your marches and you rage hop on all of it. Okay, let's go try that again with somebody else. All right, I'll hit Vortex. Vortex, super good account, really strong account. Okay, and he's got the same thing, except he's got an Arthur with Philip. Okay, so there's a couple different ways I can do this. I can stay with the same thing because I'm going to kill his Arthur Philip probably faster than he's going to kill my Arthur Hector. All right, and if that happens, then I'm probably going to meet him at the merge, but I don't want to kill him too fast because I don't want to go hit his marches and for him to be able to rage hop on me. So you always have to keep that in mind. With that, you can do it another way. You could say, okay, I'm going to take my high tank march, right, which is going to be my Trajan and Constantine, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to run it like this. And I'll go ahead and leave the siege in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to kill his Arthur so fast to where I can get on his marches and start rage cycling while he's still trying to kill my Trajan. There's a couple different ways you can do this. All right. You can go to where you have a march killer against a march killer in a 4v1 setup like this, and you're trying to kill him, he's trying to kill you, and then you merge. Okay. That's one way to beat a stronger opponent. All right. The other way to do it is to say, okay, I'm going to keep him busy and I'm going to run my Chin Shajar here or your other tank march here. And then I'm going to run my Trajan, my big tank march. I'm going to try to gobble up as much of this damage as possible and still be alive for these marches to kill this and get on his marches. So let's see if that works. Okay. We'll run this in real time and kind of figure it out. So you can see here I slowed down my Arthur so all my marches can get there a little bit quicker. And then boom, red numbers everywhere. I want to kill this as fast as possible, hoping one skill cycle and it's gone. Okay. And there it is. Boom, all the skill cycle and it's gone. My Trajan still has life, which is good. So now I am loading up rage on his Trajan while he's still hitting mine. And boom, by the time he flips on me, all of my rage is dumped. All of my AoE is dumped. And I am able to do this really, really well. But Vortex is really, really strong, and it might not be the best way to go do this, and he's probably going to beat me now. That's why you always like to keep that, you always like to keep that gang as healthy as possible, okay? Now let me do it the way I would want to do it against Vortex, okay? Because even against, there's so much RNG when you go 1v4, guys, and that's just some of the logistics of it. That's some of the schemes of it and the strategy to it. But if I want to run it how I really want to run it, it's going to run something like this, okay? I'm going to keep Sun Tzu out of trouble. He's going to swing down. Just remember, when you attack, you swing down with the march in the second row. And when you're defending, you're going to swing up. That's why you put your big time damage dealer up here in the corner, because he stays out of trouble. All right, now, if I want to hit it like I normally hit it, let's see what happens now. Okay, I'm going to go hit his Arthur Philip with my Arthur Hector. I'm going to hit his 4 with my 4 straight up, and I'm going to have Sun Tzu off over here not taking a whole lot of damage. Okay, now you can see his Sun Tzu is in the front row. Okay, so I want to kill that thing as fast as possible. And you can see right here that that's what's happening. This is going to hit red any second now, and when it does, I've almost got that march killed. And when it is, then I'm cooking, okay? Getting his Trajan out of the way, even with the Trajan Shajar, getting his Sun Tzu out of the way. All 4 of my marches still alive. Now I'm going to kill his gang. Look at my Arthur doing work on the Arthur Philip down here, and it's an easy W for me, okay? So those are just some of the different tactics that you can use. Lost Canyon is a little bit different. With 6 marches, you can do that, but just in a different way. You can go 2v4, 4v2, however you want to do it. So with the tier list and then some of the strategies on what you do, that's how you do it. Also in Canyon, and this is something that, oh my gosh, leaders hate. People might like Canyon too much. Okay, and sometimes I'll hit players twice in one day, or if I lose to a player, I'm going to hit him again. But typically after I hit somebody and win, I don't hit him again. Okay, and that's just a very nice way to do it. These are all my teammates. These are all in my kingdom. I'm friends with all of these people, and I just don't want to piss them off, right? Because some people really like Canyon. Like, why are you spamming me? And some people don't even care. They don't even spend that much time. They just go hit whoever's in first. If they win, they just keep spamming it until they're out of turns. And so there's all kinds of ways you can do it. So we reviewed the tier list. All right, with 5 marches, different ways to run it with different commanders. We've also talked about Lost Canyon with 6 marches. We've also gone into the strategy of defense, gone into the strategy of offense and attacking other players, 4v1, 1v4, 4 head up, and all different ways you can do it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, throw a like on here. Consider subscribing. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps out the channel. Get down in the comments. I will get down there with you, and I'll give you advice. Give me questions down there. I'm always in my comments. And of course, my Discord's down in the description. You can hit that. You can go to my Discord. And guys, I ain't hard to find. Really easy to find on my Discord. Ask any questions you want. And with all that, y'all have a great day, broskies.